While South African women have made great strides in advancing their careers, many companies still lack tools that support workplace stability. According to the 2025 Working Women's Report released this week, the study has found that most women will remain in the same role for 1 to 5 years before being promoted. 19% wait 5 years for a promotion, while 23% have never been promoted. This is more than 41% of women are sole earners in their households, and financial security is not only important for them, but it's critical. Let's talk to Phillipa Geard, who's the founder and CEO of RecruitMyMom. Thank you so much for being with us, Phillipa. I mean, this is it's frightening statistics, but unfortunately nothing new. I mean, we know that this is happening. It doesn't seem to be changing, and your findings are based on research involving about 3,700 women between the ages of 18 and 64, predominantly in Gauteng, Western Cape and KwaZulu-Natal. Talk to us about this. Where are we going?
So I think the good news is, and we want to pull out the good news in the story, is that when we asked whether gender diversity has improved in the last 5 years and whether working conditions for women have improved in the last 5 years, the answer was yes. It was significantly up. It's in the 60% that most women said yes. So I think in that there's something to celebrate. But what the research is pointing out is that women are increasingly needing to be financially stable, many of them sole income earners, over 80% of them with dependents, whether it's extended family members, parents, or children. And so financial security is becoming more and more important to women. And so when one looks at the promotion statistics, when one looks at the career barriers, one needs to say, well, why is this happening, given that more than, the majority of women entering university, the majority of women graduating from university and entering the workplace are all female. It's more female than male, is what I mean. And so when one looks up into senior management, why is it that we're only seeing a disparity between men and women?
Yeah.
The latest stats are 6% of women in middle management versus 10% of men, and only about 15% of senior execs in JSE-listed companies being women. And there's a disparity. And that's what this report brings about, is some really interesting insights into how do we help women stay in these vital careers.
Yeah, and this is a very important thing. I mean, as you've mentioned, that women will remain in a position for 5 years being promoted. 19% wait 5 years for a promotion, and 23% have never ever been promoted. So, as much as we're advancing, there are still many issues that need to be looked at. And I think the reason is why. Why is this the situation? Does it come down to management, poor management, or is it that opportunities we don't necessarily want to give to women to endanger perhaps a man's position? What do you think? Perhaps give us an understanding as to why this is happening.
Yeah, I think that we need to recognize that gender diversity is improving in organizations, and so one has to look and say, okay, what helped? And one of the things that we've definitely seen has helped is, first of all, focus on gender diversity. So one of the career barriers that women are saying is lack of networking and mentoring. So that's an easy fix that companies can put in, is networking and mentoring abilities and capabilities for women. But also you've got the obvious child rearing years. So when your first promotion is due, which is probably around the 2 to 3 or 5 year mark, that's often when women are starting to have a family. And so inflexible work practices has held women back, because often they'll take a career break. Many of them, over 40% of women will take a career break, and then 90% of those will re-enter the market. And so if organizations can help women get through those child rearing years by offering them more flexibility, that will definitely help. So what we say when we're talking about flexibility here is that women aren't asking to work less hours because of the financial stability they require. Overwhelmingly, what women are asking for is the ability to work in a hybrid manner.
Yeah.
And that goes from 18-year-olds all the way up to senior execs in the later years of their careers. And so those are things that are really practical ways to really make a difference.
And that's something we need to look at, because This is the world we're living in. It's where we're moving to. So what do you believe and what do you think the opportunities that employers should create in closing this gender equality gap or inequality gap in the workplace?
Yeah, so our first advice is that any company that's looking at the back to office mandate, our data shows that on average, women that are currently working, about 50% of them are currently looking for a job. When there's a back to office mandate, that jumps to 84%. So first of all, look at flexible work policies. And there's a myriad of ways of structuring flexible work policies. But then secondly, what are the growth opportunities for women? So lay out a clear growth path, even if it means that through the years where they need more flexibility or they need a reduced hour job if that's required, that there's a pathway for them to be able to return and continue on their career. And so those are two of them. And then the other one that's quite important is to look at the benefits that really do resonate with women. Medical aid contribution has come up as one of the most significant contributions that people can have. And then obviously they're looking at salary, so fair pay. So be transparent in how you're paying your staff and ensure that, women are getting paid a fair salary.
Yeah, and that's really, as you say, I mean, it's interesting that salary is the most appealing factor for women. That's medical aid as well, pension contributions, and a bonus were identified as the top benefits sought along with training and development.
That's right.
Yeah.
So, they all show you that women are ambitious. They're wanting to stay in their careers. They're wanting to grow, but they just need an environment in which they can thrive. And what we're saying is that what we've created here in this report is a blueprint that employers can use to look at what they're doing and say, okay, diversity, we know that the stats are that profitability increases about 39% for companies that get diversity right. So if companies are serious about growing profitability, then be serious about fixing diversity.
And that's a big thing. Just finally, you touched on the hybrid issue. And I'm looking at some of the statistics here, and it is interesting that 50% of women prefer hybrid work and 37% fully remote roles. In this world of digital nomads, how does this work? I mean, there should be huge changes we're looking at.
Yeah, and I think we have seen that post-COVID, definitely. We've seen a lot more jobs that are now hybrid or have a level of remote working in them. And that's flexibility. That's not what people, the women aren't generally saying, give us reduced hours. Some of them in certain places, but they are saying, give us location flexibility, the nomad worker. And to believe that productivity and presence are the same thing is archaic. And so what we need to be able to do, and I'm a business owner myself, is measure productivity, measure output, and be clear about what it is that you're requiring of your employees so that you can thrive as a company and so can your employees.
Yeah, very important. A selfish question, and we're going to go into the news with this one. How loyal are women employees to a company compared to their male counterparts? And does it differ with age?
Well, what's so interesting is that, yes, women are incredibly loyal. So on average, the national loyalty average in South Africa is 2 years and 10 months, whereas women will generally stay with one employer between 3 years and 10 months. And the older they get, the more loyal they are. And so, there's so many return on investment wins for employers if they can really win with women. There's a 200% saving on cost to company if you can hold on to somebody who's a loyal employee who is delivering great productivity. So it's worth putting in the effort.
Amazing. I love it. Thank you. Thanks for talking to us. Very interesting survey, it really is, and I think confirming what a lot of us already know. Phillipa Geard, founder and CEO of RecruitMyMom, talking to us about the 2025 Working Women's Report that was released this week.